Hello, art teacher here with you again, and I'm starting a summer series called Sketchbook Idea or Ideas. Be sure to do your likes, subscriptions, favorites, share the video to Facebook, and leave a comment below if I'm unclear about anything or you want to add anything or whatever, right? Now, I'm going to stick with abstract drawing today for my sketchbook idea. And before I do that, let me show you a couple sizes of sketchbook you can go with. Little guy like that's kind of nice. You can carry it around. They even have them smaller than that. And, you know, it's nice what I do in my sketchbook. Sometimes I write stuff. Sometimes I do collage. I do a variety of medium, mostly a lot of pencil drawing because that's what's convenient. But I have collage in there as well and crayon. You can get these inexpensive ones for $1 up at the dollar store, you know, and they're not bound quite as well as these spiral bound ones. You can get a medium-sized one like this, and again, you can work with a variety of medium. This one got in rough shape because water fell on it or something, but gives you an idea of the types of things you can do there. Then you can get one of these big boys, which I really like. These larger sketchbooks where you can really flesh out your ideas. So there are a variety of different sizes and types of papers that you can get, and also a variety of different cost structures on that, ranging from $1 for one of those dollar store ones, literally $1, up to you can pay up to $50 if you got a sketchbook filled with Stonehenge paper or a good Arches watercolor paper. I would say for right now, don't really go with the $50 ones. Just the ones I showed you are pretty good. And they're in the range mostly, like this one is probably, you'll probably get it for $10 if you got that 40% off coupon from Michael's or Joann's or whatever. You get a little coupon on that and get a lower price. Probably get it for $10 with that coupon. Anyway, enough on the actual sketchbooks. Let's talk about what we can draw in them. So, sketchbooks have been a real cornerstone of my life since I was a child. I've always kept multiple sketchbooks and drawn in them. It's just been a source of delight and introspection for, again, my entire life. You know, and I would like to share that and give you a few ideas of types of things that you can do in a sketchbook that you might enjoy. Starting with abstract or non-representational drawing. I guess there's so many different concepts of what can mean by abstract. Abstract means to take from. So really you should have a basis within reality from which you're changing it or abstracting it, okay? But I'm thinking more in terms of non-representational art. A combination of lines, shapes, and movements, things like that. And those are things you can explore. So I have three things to explore in abstract or non-representational drawing, just so that we don't get too confused on terms. I'm using those two words interchangeably, though if someone were picky, they could really nitpick me on that. But hey, so it goes. That's how I'll work with that. If you want to do that in the comment section, we can have that discussion. Anyway, value. You know from my other videos, value means the dark and light areas between black and white, all those levels of gray. Now strictly sticking with pencil drawing, and I'll show you one where I'm using value here in my big sketchbook. This is just a drawing that I did, probably a couple years ago or so, maybe even longer. It got messy, it got stuff spilled on it, it got smeared, but that's okay. It's just an abstract drawing I did and really enjoyed. And I'm using value to show form in this non-representational drawing. You can see I have highlights in a lot of these areas, and I have dark areas and cores of the shadow throughout on many of these different shapes, making them look kind of 3D and having kind of an interesting dimensional quality. Using value is a good and interesting way, but mixed in with the value, I have a variety of different patterns. For example, I have this pattern of curved lines. I have a pattern, meaning a repeated element here, of this shape. I have some Islamic patterns down here derived from mosques. Now, I could research that and find the specific mosque it came from, but I don't have that off the top of my head. And I have a variety, if you look close, of subtle little patterns embedded throughout the composition. So, talking about value, we're using and go back and look at my 3 or 4 part series on value drawing and value scales and using value to show form. Look at that again, because you can use that in abstract drawings, and even though these are not recognizable objects, it's interesting to put the shadows on them in a way that looks like they're solid 3D forms, and I have some of that in the drawing I just showed you. So use of value, use of pattern. The main pattern I'm using in there, well, I have a variety of patterns. One pattern I'm using is a set of curved lines like this, carefully drawn throughout the composition and kind of strategically placed throughout the composition, small areas of these sorts of curved or organic line patterns. Okay, so I have a contrast because that's organic lines, and some of the other patterns I have are those Islamic patterns where if I had a simple checkerboard type of a set of squares like this, let's say, and I could have it go off even further. I could make it larger or smaller, maybe have it surrounded by another shape like this or cut off by another shape. But let's say I had a checkerboard type pattern like that. Then watch close what I do with that checkerboard pattern to make it a little more interesting and make it actually be one of the authentic patterns that you would find at a mosque, the Islamic tiling, right? So I'm going to put a triangle pointing outward on all 4 sides of that one. Then I'm going to darken it in. I'm darkening this in, and you can darken it in better with a pencil because these markers aren't really designed for that. So I did all 4 sides with that triangle and then darkened it in. Now the next one, the triangles are going to point inward to all 4 sides, pointing inward this time. Then the next one I'll have them point outward again. All 4 sides with the triangle pointing outward, then darken it in. Now you can alternate if you wanted to in some areas. You could have the outward pointing shapes be dark and the inward ones light, but in other areas you could switch that up and make these little X shapes like this one. You could make those be the dark ones. So you can alternate which ones are dark and which ones are light. So if I were to continue this by way of example, see how this shape right here has a triangle pointed in? That means I need the triangle pointed in on all 4 sides. Then the next one, triangle pointed out, and I'll darken these outward pointing ones. I'll darken those in. And this goes right up next to that curved edge. Oh, that's a nice contrast between geometric and organic lines. Remember, organic are the curvy ones. The geometric shapes, like this pattern, they're the straight edges and corners. Keep that in mind. That's a nice little thing to know. Now this one I'm going to darken in. So what I'm doing here is sharing with you a very cool pattern that you can include in your abstract drawings. And you can make it kind of subtle, or you can make this be one of the main things in the drawings. Okay, and I've had success with that. A lot of times it looks really good. All these need to point inward, because you see those 2 point inward on that shape. That means the other ones also have to. Then I continue like that till I fill it in. So, one pattern I shared with you is like this one right here with curved lines. Another pattern is like this one down here with straight lines and corners, geometric, and that's that's an Islamic pattern. And that's this one right here that I just went through. Now, I want to quickly show you a pattern you can use as a border to go around the outside of your drawing. And that would be a nice Greek pattern. So, take a close look at this. You can find this around. Go up like that, across, down, and around, and continue with that. And you're going to have to think out and work out your corners with that also. Bring that type of thing all the way around your picture, kind of small and carefully drawn. It'll add a lot of interest to it, and you might like that. So maybe you could include that as part of what you're doing. And I hope I have an example of that handy. Well, I don't have an example of, oh, there it is, right in front of my face. So here's kind of a fun little painting I was working on. And try to notice all around, I have that Greek pattern. Some places I have the outside dark, like right here, and the stems pointing into that are light. Other places, like right here, I have the outside light. So you can make that pattern go all the way around your picture, and that's a nice one also. That little Greek pattern. And practice that. It's like anything else. The first 10 minutes you do it will go slow. But after you get into it, you can just go right along and do it without error and do it quickly. So it's that first part of just getting the skill, then you can do it quick. And you can go all the way around your picture reasonably quick, and then maybe cordon off other areas of your picture with that pattern. So, we talked about value, we talked about pattern, and I shared 3 different pattern ideas with you. Now, rhythm. And rhythm and movement are an important part of art. So, in my sketch here, I'm trying to have some type of movement. I suppose up here would be a good example of it. This pattern moves your eye downward in that direction. I also have other directional lines throughout the picture that move your eye around. Though it could be stronger in that regard, that's definitely a consideration. So, for today, I would like you to get a sketchbook. Get what, big, small, medium, however you like it. Get yourself a sketchbook, even if it's an inexpensive one, and try doing at least a few abstract drawings. So you could do an entire sketchbook just of abstract drawings, and it would make you better. I'm telling you, it would make you a better artist, because especially this idea of pattern, because we're so used to using contrast of light and dark in our drawings. But if we have areas of pattern that contrast each other, that's also an interesting type of contrast. And remember, all perception is perception of contrast. Okay? So it would really be an interesting thing is to really get into this pattern idea in your abstract drawings. Okay, I gave you a lot there to work with. Get yourself the sketchbook, start doing some abstract drawings, and I'm coming back at you with more, maybe some realistic drawing and more sketchbook activities. Have a great one. You take care.